It didn't look as if her parents ever came home last night. Their late-night call the evening before had been to tell Mrs. McFarlane that they would not be home for a while yet, and that they had some sort of business to attend to. This, unfortunately, was not uncommon, nor was it surprising. Mrs. McFarlane cautiously knocked on Harriet's door. The laughter and talking stopped abruptly. There was a moment of silence before Harriet answered. "Yes? Who is it?" Mrs. McFarlane took that as her cue to enter, and what she found upon opening that door was very peculiar indeed. There, at the little tea table in the center of her bedroom, sat Harriet, drab and gray quilt draped over her knees, with kerosene lamp burning at her side, just as she had left her the night before. Never mind that the whole house was hooked up with electricity, complete with a fully operating elevator that was installed especially for Harriet. Harriet had her own unique way of viewing the world, and of all the romantic notions to cling to, she would choose to see it all by lamplight. This, in and of itself, was not so completely unexpected. There was something else about this picture that was out of the ordinary. A second chair had been brought in, and a little gray lump sat stiffly and wide-eyed opposite her young charge. Wide-eyed? She squinted, trying to take in the whole scene. She really needed her glasses. She searched her pockets and then her handbag clumsily before retrieving a pair of spectacles, and brought them to her eyes. She ignored the wriggly wrappers that fell to her feet and blinked. What Mrs. McFarlane saw was the most lifelike stuffed animal she had ever seen. The craftsmanship was impressive. It looked as though it were living and breathing. "Heavens, child, wherever did you get that?" Harriet seemed frozen into place. She clearly appeared to be hiding something, and that unsettled Mrs. McFarlane. "Spit it out, dear. I won't be standing around all day now, will I?" Mrs. McFarlane was kind, but also not the most patient woman in the world. Harriet glanced hesitantly from Mrs. McFarlane to her visitor and back again. It appeared Flynn had been frozen out of shock, his demeanor blank with wide-eyed expression, caught midway between sitting and standing, with one arm outstretched towards a cup of tea on the table. "Oh," Harriet finally said, "this is my new stuffed Flynn that I got from my friend Rabbit. This is my new stuffed animal." Harriet was no good at lying. Mrs. McFarlane's right eyebrow raised slightly as she contemplated. The child was obviously going stir-crazy in this house, staying up all night, talking to herself, and serving tea to stuffed animals. She was growing into a young lady all too quickly, and getting much too old for such fantasies. Her tutors had the day off, as it was Saturday, but she would be working all the more in their absence. Maybe this would be a good opportunity to take the poor dear out into the fresh air.
Show me the ring and I'll jump right through.